Up here in Mustang Lake, our weather patterns are really starting to kick in again for us. Nice little front passed through this weekend, so that's going to change things again. So make sure that you make adjustments accordingly. We're going to be in a new moon. That 10 days surrounding the new moon is going to be next few days are going to be really good, or at least good opportunities for you if you can be able to get out on the water this next coming week. Look like we've got some decent weather to deal with, much colder, but that's what we want this time of year. We're going to be over these types of areas. Mustang's one of the areas that really lends itself to fish that. Again, the tides are an important thing that you must be taking care of, and make sure that you're paying attention to those, because we've had some big tides have been coming in when we had that big moon, and we'd have some shallower tides in the morning times. That water was really flowing out, so lots of moving water that's going on at this particular moment. So make sure that you watch that and pay attention to that, because it can hinder your fishing or really accentuate your fishing depending on where you're at and depending on when that tide's coming and going. So it's always an important thing no matter what time of year it is. So, but that said, up here in Mustang, got great muddy and shell bottom, got some scattered grass that's in it. We've caught scattered redfish in here, caught some decent trout in this area here primarily. That's all that we have really located. No flounder, no black drum, at least not for us or some of my parties that we've had up in these areas. But these are the types of areas that you want to target right now moving forward as we get further into December, as we get into January and February, when typically our colder months are more consistent in their here. So far it looks like we've had a pretty consistent weather pattern as far as the cooler weather has come. We've rebounded nicely with warmer weather in between, and then it gets back down chilly again. So when you get over these muddy areas like that, and you got the right amount of water in some of these, and they kind of warm up on those big bluebird skies, that gives you opportunities. Again, your main things that you want to look for and try to find, and make sure you got bait working in the areas. We've had a lot of bait that's migrated out of here, so primarily that's what you got left behind is mullet, scattered shrimp here and there in some of the grass beds and some of the back lake areas. You can locate some of that, but primarily mullet's your main source of bait that's going to be in here. So we try to match, as much as we can with that color-wise, size-wise. So that's why the corky game really becomes important this time of year, because you get that profile that matches kind of what that mullet looks like. The soft dine's the same thing. Soft dine XL gives you great opportunities in those patterns and size profile. Now, just remember, when you have a big bluebird sky in place, that's big old high pressure that's pushing in here, so you want to downsize those baits. Burner shads, another great choice. The knock and tail 3 1/4 inch bait's a good choice. The mirror lure Little John's is a great choice. Soft dines, all those types of baits and sizes is stuff that you really want to begin with, depending on what area that you're going to fish. Throw that smaller bait with that big high pressure in there and stick with it for a little while. Don't, if nothing happens in the first 30 or 45 minutes of your wade, just hang with it. Just keep working it and keep working it. Make sure that you want to focus in around the majors and minors, obviously. Minors are going to be in the mornings right now, and we're going to have they have the midday majors again, so make sure that you incorporate your day into that. So you may want to start your day a little bit later. Colder air that's going to be in place. That's the other thing too, with a big old clear night like that. The morning times are extremely chilly, and so is the water. So those fish won't be as apt to want to feed right off the bat like that, unless you're fishing probably in some deeper edges or deeper cut, maybe even a channel edge or something to that effect. But if you've got an area that's adjacent, a big old flat adjacent to that type of thing, that'd be a great location to begin with. Just like in Mustang here, it gives you the ICW that's right there at the mouth of it. You can begin on the outside of that. Just make sure you watch your barge traffic, because it can kind of give you that tsunami effect where it's pushing and pulling a lot of water in there as they go by. But that's something that you may want to put into your game plan throughout your fishing morning, especially if you got some low 50-degree water temps. You want to let that thing kind of warm up a little bit, especially if you got some nice sunshine that's going to be banging on there. So the water temps will start to come up, and those fish will begin a little bit more active. This outer edge out here, as you move on down the ICW, you've got opportunity that you can fish on some of this area. You've got some little small flats that accommodate 2, maybe 3 people, but that's about it, because you just don't have a lot of room there between the shoreline and what the ICW offers you. But again, it's the right structure. You got mud and clump shell. It's all in these types of areas, and that's what you really want to target. And of course, anywhere that you can incorporate grass into your fishing, that's exactly what you want to do. Here on the Super Flats, out here coming off the Lady Ann channels, we head toward the mud. We get on this whole shoreline here. You've got a nice little edge out there close to the ICW that comes through there. You've got a bunch of grass that's back there. It pushes up there against the shoreline there at St. Joe as we push down the Super Flats. You got the point up here. You got a deeper edge that's out that. You got great potholes that are scattered into this whole area here. You just got lots of wading opportunities that come up and down here. And the great thing about it is, especially this upcoming week, if I have the opportunity to get to fish these particular areas, you know, like I say, your mornings are going to be really chilly because we got big bluebird sky, big high pressure in place. And every day that we get away from this front that had pushed through, it's going to be better and better and better as the fish will get back acclimated and that pressure will start to subside a little bit and it'll make them want to eat a little bit more. But the one thing that's for sure, fish got to eat every day. Now, how much they want to eat and how often, that is something you have to figure out as you're fishing on that particular day. That's why we suggest that you throw the smaller profile baits. So they're going to be more apt to eat that smaller bait than they are something that's really big. Now, if you want to go by the rule of thumb and where throwing a bigger bait catches bigger fish, then hey, knock yourself out and do what you want to do. But just to give you a consistency on giving multiple opportunities, throw the smaller bait, and you might get fortunate enough to catch you a nice quality fish in there in the process of all fishing these particular areas. So again, your tides, a lot of moving water, great thing, whether it's wind driven or tidal driven, either one, that's what we want. You want some water to be moving in some of these areas, so it helps you with that, with your casting and plus with your catching opportunities. So you got grass that's in here, you've got mud in here. Now some of these areas got a little bit more hard packed sand, so you may want to give it a whirl, because especially if you got a lot of bait working in some of those areas, because what can tend to happen is when you have the big bluebird sky, that sun beams down on some particular areas. So if you've got sand pockets or maybe some hard packed sand in some areas, what'll happen is kind of acts like a little microwave. It'll heat those little areas up for a short span. You'll get a little bit of active bait fish maybe over some of those because that water temp has changed for them and they like to be a little bit more comfortable, therefore it attacks predator fish. So you have maybe a small window of opportunity. So if you see or you know of some areas that can be like that, that might be something that you want to put into your game plan as well to fish in and around those. Now that time frame is probably not going to be very long because again, sand does not hold heat, so it will cool off really fast. So I wouldn't start my day there, but if you're fishing there midday, maybe around the major, you might have a great opportunity of finding you a quality fish or just some fish in general in something like that. In this particular shoreline on the Super Flats, whether you're fishing up by the Lady Ann or you're fishing down Blind Pass, gives you those opportunities. Again, bait's the key thing. There's not going to be just tons and tons and tons of bait like you would have maybe early fall or late spring as that bait migrates back into these areas, but you do still have some bait opportunities in some of these. You just have to be patient and look. Again, this is where you have to kind of look at your signs, look and see if you have ospreys working in the areas because they're going to be on bait fish. You know, if you got pelicans diving over areas, they see bait fish. Those are great indicators for you to use, and you want to be able to attack those particular areas. Then you get on that bait line like that and go to work. Whether you're throwing your down south in the burner shad or the original size of that, where you're throwing corkies, the originals, floaters, sinkers, if you like those, the Mirrodine, soft dine, XLs, regular. Double D's is another one as far as the profile and size. It kind of matches with that mullet that we have in place right now. So those are all great things that you want to be able to use in your arsenal coming in around this new moon. So apply those things. Again, majors and minors, key things. Make sure you're paying attention to your tides. Your water temps are an awful good thing to make sure you're paying attention to as well. Another great area this time of year when you got the water temps that vary, just like I talk about in the summertime, you know, these deeper edge, those fish drop off into that as the day progresses, as the water temps move up in shallower water. So they get off in a little bit deeper water before it's cooler for them. So it's just the reverse in the wintertime. These fish will start out in the deeper edge, and as the shallower water over mud and that kind of thing of grass start to warm up, then they'll come out of the depths and they'll get up there on the flats and begin to hunt. That's why I suggest to you earlier, you may want to begin your day just a little bit later to let the sun get up and let the water probably warm up just a little bit more, unless you just want to get out there and grind and get after, which is nothing wrong with that either. So encourage it. But if you're going to fish in this particular area here down from Swan here over here in Port Bay, get on this edge right here, this nice muddy edge. You got a little bit deeper drop there. That's great for it. And this is where your suspended baits really come into play. So maybe not so much your double D unless you just really want to work that 2 to 3 foot of water with your double D. But if like you got the sinker or the floater on the Fat Boy, you can throw that out there in that 4 to 5, maybe 6 foot of water, and allow that bait to really kind of suspend and just kind of hang out down there a little bit. And you'll get opportunities with it. Same thing with your down south. You know, you work that deeper edge early like this. And then, of course, again, as that sun gets higher and higher into the sky and you get pushed toward a minor feed during the middle of the day, depending on where we're at with it, whenever you get on the water, just make sure you look at when your times are going to be when that major is. And really target these types of areas. You know, a midday major, wintertime, you got colder water, you got a little bit of bait worked in there. It can give you some great opportunities no matter where you're at. As long as you're incorporating all those kind of small little details into your fishing day. You know, we're still throwing 16th ounce jig heads because we really want that bait when the water gets chilly like this. You want it to really just kind of glide through there and really take its time. You can even slide to a 32nd ounce if you want to. 1 out 32nd ounce bait really does well with the burner shads and the original size and the knock and tail. All those really line up well with that particular size jig head. And what it does, it allows you just to really work even a shallow flat with that really well. So if you got, need a thigh deep water in a particular area, you put that 32nd jig head on there and you can really control it and keep it down in there, and you get some great opportunities up there. But again, once that water temp really starts to kind of move in the upward direction and they starts getting a little warmer and your bait gets a little bit more active, you're going to get some opportunities. You just are. It's going to happen. So the biggest thing to make sure that you continue to be aware of this time of year, you just got to be patient. Like I say, fish are not going to be super, super active, especially when it's chilly. They like to be comfortable just like we do. We all move a little bit slower when it's cold. So just take that into consideration, depending on whether you're fishing here in Port Bay, if you're fishing Swan Lake, doesn't matter. Wherever that leads you, this information travels. It doesn't matter which estuary you're fishing in. You can use the same information and plug it in, depending on if you know the same type of structure, the edges, all that kind of stuff will factor in for you. Work your way down these edges like that until you find you a group of fish and just kind of hang out there with them and let them dictate to you what they really want you to do. Again, make sure you pay attention to your tides. Make sure we continue to pay attention to weather because our weather patterns are choppy and they're kind of all over the place right now. So always keep an eye on that. Make sure you take plenty of clothes with you because if it gets a little bit cooler than what you anticipate, you can always take it off if you get too warm. Work these areas really well. Be patient. Pay attention to your majors and minors and have fun out there fishing this time of year.